With assets and arbitrage. Again, we said we were going to kind of continue in the vein of getting you guys prepared for some of the things that are to come. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I did. I want to give out a shout out to my people out there. We are celebrating a 3-day weekend once again for most people who have federal holiday weekends, but not her. Okay, it is Patriots Day. Patriots Day. You guys are familiar with Patriots Day? We're going to celebrate all our patriots. I guess from 9/11. So we'll move on right here. I'm still with you. Still with me. So we're gonna bring a couple things for the Patriots out here. We got the flag for the family, right? Salute to the flag. All our firefighters and first responders who died and lost their lives in Patriots Day, and not to belabor the point, all the people who died and lost their lives after the fact from illnesses that they received from serving up there at the 9/11 towers. So we want to respect them. So yeah, let's get right into it, y'all. Let's get right into it.
The Metaverse president said, when I grow up, I want to be like y'all. Well, thank you for joining us, Metaverse president. So September is going to be a very busy month. Guys, start unlocking your algorithm so that you can start getting the information that you need to see, understand, and prepare for what the world government, right? Because that's what this is all about. This is now the unifying of globally, right? The government, economics, one church, all of the great things they talked about in Revelations. For those of you who were not on the show, on the last show, weren't able to see it, you want to start to read Daniel chapter 9 in your Bibles. You want to start to read Revelation chapter 2, chapter 9, chapter 13, chapter 16, so that you can see these prophecies really unfold right before your eyes. People used to think that the Bible was a myth, it was allegory, it was metaphorical. It is not. Every single thing they said was going to happen 2,000 years ago is happening right now in our generation. So this September, they are going to have what's called the SDG Summit. It is called the Sustainable Development Goals Summit. It is a 7-year plan, Daniel chapter 9. It's a 7-year plan in which all of the countries, the majority of the countries are going to come together globally. They're rolling out this plan in order to create these sustainable development goals. So I'm going to run down the goals that they have set up. There's 17 of them, and we're going to talk about that just a little bit. Honestly, each goal is its own show, so I'm really just going to go through what the goals are today, because we just don't have the time to go through all of them in depth. So, God willing, we'll go through each one individually. God did. Literally, God willing. So, I want you to see it's really from 2020 when they set off the pandemic, right? So once they set that in motion, and they have been playing with it for years, right, on different nations, different countries and stuff, 2020 set off the road for a decade of action. If you kind of like listen to these buzzwords that Simon and I are going to be sharing with you down this rabbit hole, because these are the buzzwords that are going to be repetition, repetition, repetition until everybody is going with the plan. So this decade of action from 2020 to 2030, these are the things that they're trying to do. The pandemic, the shutting down globally, was to see really in real world how we would react, respond. Yeah. Right? It was more of a psychological assessment, analysis of how people behave in certain, what is the word I'm looking for? Like you got your first world nations, third world nations, how certain people react. We're going to say status-wise. That's what I want to say, status-wise. And what initiatives do we need to enforce? Notice the words I'm using. This is precision of language at its finest. What initiatives we need to enforce in order to gain control, right? So where there is no control, we now need to study this and figure out ways that we will have absolute control over everything. Even the weather, for many of you, as you already know, is no longer really an act of God, right? It's not this, I don't know why I'm blanking out on my words today, but
It's controlled.
yeah, it's control, but there was a word. It's no longer a chaotic or uncertain kind of thing, right? They have these machines, they utilize them. I'm not going to go into all of the conspiracy that goes into that, but for now, just understand even something that we feel is a random act of God, as they write it in insurance policies, is no longer an act of God, because the idea of all of these things is to usurp God.
So I have a question though, because we use this number 2030. That we talked earlier in shows, fourth turning, and 2030 was a big number there, where they were saying that would be the end of the fourth turning that we are currently in, and starting of the first turning. So how does that coincide with what you're saying in that 7-year act? Is it just
On a physical standpoint or on a biblical standpoint?
well, where they both mesh? 2030 is the number.
So let me simplify this without going into all of the Bible prophecy and without having to go into all of the things that are to come, because those will be shows down the road. That first cycle is literally going to be a new world as we know it.
2030. Got you. Okay. Sounds
And
good.
we'll just stop right there, because you guys have watched enough movies to understand what I mean by that. Okay? It's literally going to be a new world as we know it. So, what are the Sustainable Development Goals? On September 17th and 18th in New York City, the UN is going to be meeting with, I think, almost 199, about 190 countries, maybe more than that. And they're going to be coming together in breakout rooms and stuff to really kind of turn on there's actually literally a countdown clock, right? Because keep in mind, we're 7 years in this 10-year decade of action. We're 7 years in. So they're trying to now put the initiatives in place in order to enforce the goals that they've come up with. So goal number 1, no poverty. What do I have to say about that? Let's say the planet's been going for 6,500 years. Let's just put that number on it. So for 6,500 years, we had no idea how to answer poverty. But in 7 years, we're going to come up with the solution. What do you think about that?
Well, sounds like a lot. Sounds like you have a lot on your plate, if you will.
Now, for those of you who like being in the rabbit hole with us, let me ask this. Yes, BK Crypto, this is the age of Aquarius. So I'm glad you brought that up. With the age of Aquarius, all of the information and the truth is coming out about everything that's been going on since probably the dawn of time, right? All of the things that were left out of books, left out of documentaries, left out of reports, it's going to be that like closet of skeletons that's just going to come tumbling out, and we are going to learn the truth about everything. Now, understand that this is the time for us to do our research, because when the pendulum swings, what's going to happen?
Oh, well, it's going to swing. So what she's saying, it's going to swing far to the other side. When this is the age of knowing, and information is free to us.
Abundant.
It's abundant, but eventually it's going to shut down. Information will be hard to come by.
It will be heavily censored.
Yes.
People are going to, and they're already being murdered for, talking about
But
stuff.
like she said, they're going to start censoring books.
Everything.
I mean, they're shutting down people on social media and this, but they'll get it to the point where they're censoring books. You can't even get this book. Like you've heard, oh, so-and-so wrote this book. It's out of print. Can't get it. Can't find it. So while we have the opportunity to get these books and these works, we need to get them now and secure them so that we can read. Even if it's something you can't understand or that even, it's something that's in your genre, but get them, because they are books, very, very important books that we should have and we should be trying to get, right?
Write your own notes,
There
right?
you
Get
go.
your own notebook, write your notes. If somebody comes in your house one day and decides that they want to, what's the word I'm looking for? They want to confiscate the books.
Yep.
You have your notes and stuff, right? Two, it doesn't matter where you are in the sphere of belief, get you a Bible. And I suggest that you guys go wherever you can and get a Bible written before 1611, right? Don't get a truncated Bible. What is a truncated Bible? The newer the Bible is, the more truncated it is. They have already started changing words out. So, for instance, grew up with my grandmother. I know that the lion is going to lay down with the lamb. When you look at a 2020 version Bible, it says the wolf will lay down with the lamb. Well, that doesn't make any sense because there are no wolves on that side of the earth, right? In Mesopotamia where they were, but there were lions. The lion will lay down with the lamb. And there's a lot of other things where stuff's left out. Translations have been changed. I can go on and on because I've been studying it since I was a small child. Get you not the study version on your phone, your iPad, your laptop. Get you a physical Bible printed before 1611.
And why this is important when she says the Bible, and we talk about other books of means, things that are important. This show is about assets and arbitrage. It's getting to the point where these books are assets.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
I mean, you're gonna stack your silver, you're gonna stack your Bitcoin, whatever else you got. But these books and information are also assets. Because you all remember the book of Eli.
Yep, they
That
were
was
all
a-
looking for that Bible.
That's all they were
Watch
looking
that
for.
movie.
That was the asset. That was the major asset. So information is an asset. So, and if you have these books that she speaks of, these are things that you want to read of while you are also having your other, because this is talking about life portfolio right there, right? So you want to have your books in order, and and the thing about books is they can be cumbersome, just like silver and gold can be cumbersome. But I know she likes physical books, but sometimes you gotta have digital books so you can move around, right? Because it's hard to just move around with books. They're heavy, but have your important books written in hand if you can.
Absolutely. And for those of you who did watch Book of Eli, he memorized that whole entire book because there was only one. So understand that they always show you up front in movies what is going to potentially happen because that is how the spirit realm operates. So I'm going to tell you from a metaphysical standpoint, devil or angel,
No.
right? They always tell you the truth. Now, from the demonic aspect, when demons actually tell you the truth, when you sit silent, you are silently complicit, it gives them permission to just keep on moving with their agenda. And that's why things are rolling out the way they are, because we watch these movies, we're entertained by them, we watch them over and over, we know the lines from the movies, we sit and we talk about it with friends and family and coworkers and so on and so forth. And there's a complicitness in that we are silently agreeing with whatever agenda they come up with. So here we go with the agenda they're coming up with. So the 2030 agenda, known as the Sustainable Development Goals, is basically to promote prosperity, address inequalities, tackle poverty, violent conflict, human rights abuses, climate change, and environmental degradation. Before I finish the 17 goals, I want to say, if we're tackling poverty, we're tackling violent conflict, we're tackling human rights abuses, before I even get into climate change and environmental degradation, who is chiefly behind the poverty, violent conflict, and human rights abuses? Is it the everyday man? Is it your neighbor across the street? Is it Ned Flanders from The Simpsons? No, it's the governments, right? So it's like, y'all caused the problem and now you're blaming us for the cause of that problem. Many of the Rothschild families, the Bilderbergs, typically fund both sides of every war that we've had going back to the 1600s. I'm just saying, right? If that's what we're tackling, why don't y'all start with you and leave us out of it? Anyway, no poverty. 6,500 years, we're apparently going to figure it out in 7. Zero hunger. And I want you to listen to words that they're using because words are a spell. That's why when you're a child, you learn how to spell, right? Grammar comes from grimoire. Did you guys know that? Right? When we utilize grammar and we're on Facebook being the grammar police, and it's two, and two, and all of the different types of grammar that we like to correct, grammar comes from grimoire. They give us these words in order to cast spells. When you are spelling, you are casting spells. The power of life and death are in the power of the tongue, right? So you can speak life or you can speak death. Either which way, you have the power to do it. I'm going into that because I want you to hear the words that they're using, right? They are also casting a spell on the masses. Zero hunger, right? So we talked about no poverty, but let's talk about hunger. Typically, when we talk about famine, most famines come from some type of weird backed war, conflict.
Maybe.
Not only the epidemic, but capitalistic agendas, right? We're going to burn this entire potato field so that we can up the price of potatoes in the Western worlds who love mashed potatoes or who love baked potatoes, right? So you guys see what I'm kind of going into. Zero hunger. So again, 6,500 years, for those of you who do read your Bible, you guys know Joseph had the dream about the 7 years of prosperity and the 7 years of famine. And he had the idea of, this is Sunday school for y'all, real quick. He had the idea to store up the storehouse, put the grain in the storehouse, so that when the years of famine came, there would be no famine in the land of Egypt. Okay. Famine's been around for at least, if we're talking Joseph, at least 3,500 years, 4,500 years, right? Because he's long before the line of Christ. He's in the line of Christ, but long before Christ. But we're going to figure it out in 7. In order to figure out zero hunger in the next 7 years, that means there's going to be massive control mechanisms. Now, there's a gentleman, his name escapes me, but there's a lot of things escaping me today. They're overworking me, y'all. And he talks about all the ingredients in a simple chicken sandwich at, you name it, Popeyes, Chick-fil-A. Somebody else has a chicken sandwich, I can't think.
Wendy's.
Wendy's. And he's telling you there's between 10 to 25 ingredients in the chicken sandwich, which is crazy. Because if you made a chicken sandwich at home, it's going to be the chicken, maybe some salt, some pepper, some seasonings that may have 3 or 4 seasonings in it, and flour, maybe a little bit of milk, maybe egg, right? Natural things. And he's just kind of going into Dr. Sebi style, how the consumption of the United States and of Western worlds, that consumption of food is literally killing them, right? I watched a guy, we've been in Mexico now, for many of you who don't know, we've been in Mexico
7 years.
7 years,
Yep,
which means it's been a while since I've cut open a fruit in the United States. I do go back and forth, but not for long periods. I typically don't feel good when I go back there. But I watched the guy cut open a beautiful watermelon, and it looked crazy to me because the inside of it didn't have one seed. Not one seed. We buy watermelon probably twice a week, and our watermelon's chock full of black and white seeds.
Yeah, yes, they are.
So understand that they are slowly but quickly finding ways to really put a chokehold on your immune systems, put a chokehold on your organs. When we look at the rates of the diseases, and let's just talk about the Black community, right? I'm not even talking about the community on a whole. Black community is diabetes, high blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, period. Those are the top 3 things killing Black people every single day. And it's coming from the food, right? So zero hunger, I had read a report that their idea is when they do these smart cities, right, everybody gets to eat, but in order to reduce carbon emission credits, no meat, and everybody's going to be restricted to 2,500 calories a day. So what did they do?
With all of what that is, though. Okay. You know what that is. Yeah. They say, I guess, at rest, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, at rest, your body burns 2,500 calories a day. So that's how many calories a day you need at rest to live. So anything extra, you're going to be at that below replacement. So, if you have to go walk around, do some stuff, do some hard labor, all you get is 2,500 calories, but you might have needed 4,000 for the energy that you
the labor.
Yeah. So that's the dangerous part about it, because if 2,500 calories is going to be your pittance, then that's rated as just enough to live. Just enough to
right?
live.
Just enough to live.
Right.
But let's look at the psychology of it. The commercials, the music that they play when you go shopping, that they play when you're sitting down and eating, the colors that they use in the logos. All of these things are to psychologically stir up and evoke, listen to the words that I'm using, hunger within you, right? Now, I remember in 2020, people who were confined to their homes because of the pandemic gained 20 to 25 pounds because a lot of them ate because they were bored, right? You got to remember the stuff that they're putting in the food. They're adding the sugars in there and all of the different type of sugars, which are like a drug for your brain. There is the, as soon as you turn on and, turn on your phone or watch a movie or watch sports or whatever, you're going to have an ad or something like that that is really appealing to the hunger inside of you. The overconsumption of Western world is out of control. They talk about 72% of Americans, this is not just black people, of Americans are obese, and 80% of the 72% that are obese are morbidly obese. And those are numbers we've never seen before. If you look at multiple pictures of people in 2023 and multiple collages of pictures of people from like 1973, you're going to see the difference in the everyday person from 73 to 2023.
Yeah.
Right? So what they did was they fattened everyone up like a pig, and then they're going to use that evocation of hunger to control you. Right? You're not going to go against what we're saying because you're going to be really, really hungry. Right? So keep that in mind when they use a term like zero hunger. Number 3, good health and well-being. Not excellent health, right? Because I told you, very specific about the words they're using. We had no poverty, we had zero hunger, but now it's good health and well-being. Not excellent health, not top shape health, right? We didn't use any of those buzzwords. It's good health and well-being. You're basically alive. Well, thanks. Number 4, quality education. Now notice they didn't say quality health and well-being.
No, they did not.
They did not. They said good, right? That's okay. SCSC, right? Quality education. And we all know whenever they give us quality education, something is going to be whitewashed, removed, right? It's going to be all of these things that they are going to push in your mind and psychologically and emotionally manipulate you. Quality education. Y'all take that to the bank. Gender equality. I don't know where that's going, but I don't know how y'all gonna figure it out in 7 years, right? So we'll see where that goes. And of course, I have to dig into that more because obviously there were a lot more initiatives that required my attention. Yes, I'm a woman, and yes, gender equality is important, but I got to put that on the back burner to look at these other more critical aspects to life. Clean water and sanitation. Not quality water and sanitation, right? Not the best water that we could find. Clean. It's clean, right? It's clean. Okay. I'm going to leave number 7 blank because we're going to do that last. I'm still not really sure what it is, but it's just more like efficient use of energy. And I really kind of want to dig into that offline to really understand what that means, okay? Number 8, you ready for the word that they use? Decent work.
Decent work. Okay.
And economic growth.
All right.
Right? Decent work. For people who have done a very long time in prison, often you hear them always say, I just want some decent work.
Some hard, decent work.
So decent work and economic growth. We'll look into that. Number 9, industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Of course, that's important to them, right? So you have industry and infrastructure, and in the middle, they throw in the word innovation, which means we have all of these great ideas, and we're coming up with all of these plans to confine the people in the best supermax prison we can possibly come up with so they don't think they're in supermax prison. Hold on to that. Reduced inequalities.
Oh, no.
So we did gender equality, but in number 10, it's reduced inequalities. It wasn't no inequalities. It wasn't zero inequalities. We're just going to reduce the inequalities. And I'm sure that has a lot to do with race and not gender. Because understand that the trans movement, the LGBTQ, all of that gender equality it was number 5. It was top 5 out of 17. That's a really important initiative for them because, and I hope I don't offend anybody, but I'm just telling y'all the truth. Their idea is depopulation.
Yeah, yes, indeed.
Right? They want the genders to be confused about who they are as people.
Mm-hmm.
They have really waged a war on heterosexual couples and families because they want depopulation. You want to say something?
No, I mean, you're going smooth. What number you on?
Did I lose track? Oh, I'm on number 11 now.
Number 11. Okay.
We talked a great deal about sustainable cities and communities, so please check out Getting Your House in Order or Getting the House in Order,
Yeah,
part 1 and 2, right? I
part one and
really,
two.
really, really went into that, not knowing it was number 11 on the list. That was just the first thing that caught my attention and I want to share with y'all. But as this summit goes and they start putting plans together and so on and so forth, so probably mid-October to maybe around the time of Thanksgiving, we'll have a lot more detail on that. Outside of what I've given you, do your own research. Always do your own research. Number 12, responsible consumption and production, right?
Yeah.
We talked about this. The consumption rate in Western worlds is out of control. It is absolutely out of control. People shop because they're bored. It's called, they have a name for that type of shopping.
You said it to me the other night, but
I know.
conspicuous. No.
It'll come to me.
Yeah.
They always say Kanye West.
Yeah, I mean, they used to call
impetuous. Is it impetuous shopping?
Well, they used to call it conspicuous consumption. But yeah, if you're looking for another.
Yeah, there was another term
yeah,
I've heard, and women, the majority of women are guilty of it, right? Like I remember 50 had a song called "Use the Window Shopper," and believe it or not, there's a lot of people who start off window shopping and then buy stuff just out of sheer boredom, just like people eat out of sheer boredom. Consumption is just consumption. When you hear the term consumption, a lot of people think consumption is like actually ingesting something, right? If you're binge watching The Walking Dead, that is consumption, right? So binge watching on Netflix, Hulu, whatever, that is consumption. It's excessive consumption. What's another example of consumption that's not eating or drinking? Shopping, we talked about that.
Shopping, I mean, you could just consume, I mean, even consumption as far as music or stuff
Right,
like that.
absolutely. If you're sitting bored, you just listen to music. I typically try to listen to gospel music just for the frequencies, but it's consumption, right? You consume music. That's why the music industry is so big, right? You go into the Renaissance tour and you paid $975 for the seats all the way up by the Chrysler building to see Beyonce, who looked like a tiny ant on the stage. It's consumption, right? When you buy merchandise, I know that's shopping, but just understand the actual consumption of that merchandise is whatever the movie is, or the music, or the celebrity is. Merch like WWE merch, boxing merch, right? If you got a Floyd Mayweather shirt or whatever, all of that's consumption. And they are talking about responsible consumption and production. The reason why I bring that up is because I guarantee you, as sure as my name is Erin Assignment, that's going to go into the Zero Hunger Initiative. They're going to say, Americans eat too much. So, what we got to do? We got to start restricting. One, they're not going to get any meat, which they have really put stuff into so that you are literally addicted to it. Mm-hmm. Right? The sauces, the seasonings that are manufactured. You're not going into the yard and getting sage and thyme and basil leaves. You're not getting it from your yard. You're getting it from a manufactured company, and you don't know what else they're putting into it. A lot of times when people read those ingredients, it takes engineers and scientists to tell you what this item actually is. And just so you know, we use that to engineer airplanes. Like, why is that in the cereal? So those things. All right.
Did we need to shout out somebody new in the comments, or did I miss that?
Oh, yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Nerdupinc.marv. Peace, family. Thanks for all you do. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
Please, if you get a chance, because I haven't seen you in the chat before, check out Getting the House in Order Part 1 and 2, okay? Because we really go into the sustainable cities and communities. So responsible consumption and production. What I would suggest is many of you do your research. If you don't fast, if you've never fasted, try it and see how difficult it can be when you first start doing it. Right? I know a lot of people do intermittent fasting and they talk about how difficult that is. And the reason why I'm saying like kind of practice this now is because it's going to be a permanent fast if you make it through, these 7 years with what they're coming up with.
One more person that you need to have just for.
It's a nerd said we'll do. Practice
Okay.
the fasting.
Thank you. Yeah. Fasting helps.
And it doesn't have to always be food too. Food is hard, but try fasting from whatever your favorite thing is, right? So for instance, I have a son, he loves music. Fasting from music would be more of not a punishment, but be more difficult for him than fasting from food. That would be the same with you, right? Simon is not a big foodie, so fasting from food, he'd do that with his eyes closed. How long we fasting for? What we praying on? He'd be first in line. So he has to find something else to kind of like fast from. So think about it in that. For me, it would probably be fasting from meat, right? Like just vegetables, just fruit, no starches, no carbs. Fasting from carbs would be also something difficult for me to do. So we're kind of like practicing just to see, if we can get our bodies used to it. Because you have to remember, these physical assaults, is what I'm going to call it, are really more to change your mental, right? So it's really more psychological than it is physical. For those of you who are familiar with what they really did to the slaves on plantations and antebellum slavery, all of that was psychological. The breaking up of the family, the whipping of the buck in the middle of the town square, the killing of the buck in the town square, the quartering of the buck in the town. All of that was more psychological than physical. Yep. Right? When you read the Willie Lynch thing, they're still utilizing all of that psychology. Just this time it's on everybody, right? And not just us. And understand that those were pilot programs for today. It wasn't just for that. All they did was peep it and perfect it and then keep coming up with initiatives to enforce the things that they want done on us. Number 13, climate action. How about y'all stop these wars all over the world, stop weaponizing the dollar, stop doing all of this ridiculousness, and the climate will be just fine, right? Right? Stop going to other countries and pillaging their resources, their minerals, their gold, their silver, their this, their that, and the third. Don't run a pipeline through 16 countries so that the Western world can have natural gas. Stop it, and the climate will be just fine. Stop using your heart machine and creating your own weather. Let God deal with the weather, right? You had it. The climate will be fine. I can go on and on and on, right? When we talk about the carbon emissions, it's countries that are the problem. I'm almost done.
Oh, sorry.
It's countries that are the problem. 14, life below water. Can't really speak to that yet, but as you can imagine, all of the dumping that goes on in the oceans and stuff, it's killing the animals. But y'all start reading that Bible, right? Revelations chapter 2, chapter 9, chapter 13, chapter 16, chapter 19. And just understand that some of it has to happen like this so that the earth can have the reset that it needs. 15, life on land. I want y'all to consider that we are also life on land. So just that phrasing alone scares the hell out of me. I'm going to be really honest with y'all. Number 16, you ready? Peace, justice, and strong institutions. Let me tell y'all something right now. In multiple areas in the Bible, it says when he comes speaking peace, he is coming with war. Y'all know anytime they start speaking, we come in the name of peace. Missionaries. From years back, right now, the big hot point is Maui. They tell you the history of Maui when the missionaries came in 1800. They came with peace. They tried to leave with the land and couldn't. So here we are in 2023. They figured out a way to get that land. Y'all look that up.
And let me just say that because she said institutions. And a lot of people in the United States, it's about racism. But you know, racism is systematic through institutions.
There you go.
So she says strong institutions is ways that they can put strong ties around you, right?
Ties, strongholds on your mind. When somebody come out of prison, they say he's institutionalized.
Exactly. So institutions like she's talking about the criminal institution, you're talking about banking institutions, education. These institutions, you want those strong institutions so we can control people. So no, you do not want strong institutions.
When you hear the word strong institutions, I want y'all to hear a stronghold on my mind.
Yeah.
Google it, look it up, meditate on it, but that's really where we're going at. And notice it says peace, justice, and strong institutions. Justice has not prevailed in at least 2,000 years. I don't know what it was like before then, but I can imagine that justice hasn't really ever prevailed on the earth once we took God out of everything. All right, let's go. I mean, she holds the scales, but y'all know how stuff works. As above, so below. That's also the scales and what justice really look like. Right? Those who have money get the justice that they want. Everybody else is in big trouble. The last one, number 17, partnerships for the goals. That's just the countries coming together to partner to put these goals together. But I want y'all to see it as that's the countries coming together to enforce the initiatives needed to control us as a people. We're not going to keep y'all much longer. We want y'all to enjoy y'all weekend. Remember why Monday, September 11th, we both were active duty at that time.
Operation Freedom.
Operation Enduring Freedom.
Operation Enduring Freedom. I'm sorry.
We were both actively serving. We served in 2 war campaigns, 2 active war campaigns. So just remember the lives that were lost on September 11th. Also do your research on what really happened. And we'll check y'all out hopefully next week. Bye, y'all. Do your own research.